Hey, everybody, welcome back to Tavern Talks, episode 184. And tonight we have, once again, another amazing guest within the TTRPG space. Tonight we bring Bruno from the Deep Dice over on Instagram and Start Playing Games. And we're going to find out how he runs his games, what he does that's different, maybe how he uses strange monsters and things like that. And also a little bit of background of how he got into tabletop in the first place, because that's what we do here at the Tavern. Um, and of course, I've got my awesome co-host over here, Jacob, who's been hanging out with us the last couple weeks, and yeah, it's been great. Before we start, real quick, we want to shout out to our wonderful sponsors for the night. That's going to be our friends over at Canadian Dice, where they give you awesome click clacks for your next game session. We also have Dungeon Grandmaster, where you can get a shirt like Jacob has on right now with the Tabletop Misfits logo on it. And then if you can hear the cool music that's going on in the background, that's from our wonderful friends over at Monument Studios, where you can get up to 5,000 different professionally made audio sounds and one-shot sounds. And you'll find out some of the one-shot stuff as soon as the monsters enter the field. So for those that are first tuning in for the first time, the way this works is it's three guys hanging out and having a drink and talking about tabletop, which we all love. And then the monster will attack. And then after that, the last 30 minutes is what we call happy hour, where you can ask all the wonderful questions that you need to know about tabletop gaming. And we're going to answer as many as we can within that half hour. So before we start, Bruno, tell us a little bit about yourself. What is the Deep Dice?
All right, guys. Thank you so much for having me here. Happy to share this hour and a half with you guys.
Yeah.
So the Deep Dive started some 4 years ago with the idea of creating an Instagram channel with tips and hints focused on DMs, since there's so much stuff for players and not as much for DMs. And it started just because me and my partner, Paulo, have been, both of us, forever DMs for 30 years. And we decided to start with that page, sharing the way that we like to run our tables and create our stories. And since then, lots of things happened, and now we've published a few things on DM's Guild. We're running one shots and campaigns on Start Playing, and having fun with cool people all around the world that join us for a few games.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. Start Playing was my first introduction to professional gaming as well, and I thought it's a pretty cool opportunity that can allow any person to become a professional game master, which is pretty awesome. 30 years, huh? That's awesome. We'll start with the three questions that I love to kind of get an understanding of who you are as a tabletop gamer and gamer in general. And the first one, of course, is how did your tabletop gaming experience begin? Like what was your first experience in tabletop?
So it's a fun story because I started with Hero Quest actually, and then I'm Brazilian, and one of the biggest publisher of magazines and newspapers in Brazil decided, God knows why, to translate the second edition of at that time Advanced Dungeons and Dragons to Portuguese, and they decided, and as they were in every newsstand in the country, they started selling the core books in every single newsstand. So halfway through the 90s, there was a boom of people playing role-playing games in Brazil. And as I had that experience with Hero Quest, I saw that in the newsstand and thought, well, that looks cool. That seems a step forward compared to the fun that I'm having with my friend. Let's check this out. and then I was introduced to this amazing universe where we can create our stories together, and never stop since then.
That's awesome. And that's such a cool the idea that you literally just walk, you're like, oh look, newsstand. You're like, oh, there's the Game Master guide right there. Like I would never be able to do that here in the States. We would get it, at your local bookstore, but like a newsstand, there's no way, which is awesome. I love that. So then, like you said, you kind of got into it and you grabbed it and you said, oh, this is really cool. And then you moved and then you never quit. What was the thing that caught your attention that made it so you never quit? Like, I feel like there's very few things in our lives, and tabletop is definitely one of them for me, where it wasn't just, I'm going to play this once and then I'm going to kind of put it away and say, hey, I did it. I checked it off my box and I'm going to move on. Like, what is it about tabletop that keeps you coming back?
I think that if I'm going for a personal point of view, I
Yeah.
think that the answer would be it's just so amazing for you to dive into this fictional worlds and just keep absorbing, especially as for a kid that was 14 years old when I started playing. And the next thing that was published there in Brazil after the core books was the second edition of Forgotten Realms.
Oh,
And
nice.
with those cool maps and all that lore about history and geography of this fictional world, and I was just completely hooked into that. And then for me as a forever DM, the opportunity to create wild stories and see my friends having fun, and I think that's for every DM. I think that there's nothing as satisfying for a DM to finish a session and look at all your friends' faces and see that they actually had a good time building on top of the ideas that you threw at them. So it's really I think that it satiates a natural curiosity that I have of learning stuff. And then my creativity on being able to create stories on top of that lore. And then a very particular thing of simply having a good time, but seeing that my friends are having a good time together with me, kind of orchestrating a little bit what's going on. So that would be the personal point of view answer. But I think that the core that role-playing games actually do string for every one of us is, in my mind, it bundles up together three things that humankind has been doing since we know ourselves as humans, which is getting together, playing games, and sharing stories. We've been doing that before we even had the consciousness that we were a different kind of species. So I think that it goes on a very, very, very deep level on our psyche, and I think that's why we fall in love so hard with it.
No, I absolutely 100% agree with that. I think it's something that we have definitely noticed, especially with the idea that the world is always, we get to create something that's completely our own. It allows you to tell that story. And then for me, I think it's the connection. Like you said, this isn't just you're picking up a game or you're picking up a book and you're reading it for yourself. There's a genuine connection between the players at your table and yourself as the game master that is so much different than anything else you play, which is, I think, one of my favorite parts about it too.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that I really like, which is actually how Bruno and I actually became friends, is Bruno likes to immerse a lot of things in history, and it's such cool stuff. Like one of the first ones that's actually on Drive-Thru RPG that you can get from Bruno, it was like this thing of lizard folks, and they were almost having like these Greek races and stuff. Like that's what the premise of it almost was.
Mm.
And I was like that's cool. Like you don't even have to worry about a bunch of the other stuff because you could just play it for fun and go, well, I'm not in this like a Coliseum fight to kill anybody. I could just
Right.
do this and go forward. And this is just a friendly race. Well, how do I get over on people like that? So it's fun taking those bits of history and how Bruno makes it immersive that way.
Awesome.
Well, yeah, it's so much fun for it to,
You're
to
like-
mix
you're
and
like-
match.
You're
things
like,
from-
do I remember putting that one out?
No. It's. I think that one of the most fun things to do is mix and match things from all different. I don't know, subjects that we study, right? And there's no stopping to it. So history is for sure one of the things that I love the most to dive into and bring elements of cool moments of our history to the game table. But another one is geography, and it's like when you're creating a new location. It's just sometimes you just gotta try and hold yourself and stop because there's no ending on how deep you can go to bring that to the game table. It's a lot of fun.
So we've kind of explained the idea of how you got into tabletop and then where the spark came from. How long did it take you before you got from a player to sticking to the other side of the table as a game master, or was it almost instantaneous?
Almost instantaneous, because when I got and I cut the story short a little bit because before the core books for AD&D, I had the black box and I bought it first, and I started reading through it, and it was just the obvious choice that I would be the DM from that. And from that, we ran through the black box with the big red dragon on it. And as we finished that, we went straight into AD&D, and I would just not be the DM when there was some other friend who badly wanted to do so. So it was almost instantaneous, and there were actually very few instances where I was a player at anyone's table, which is I love being the DM, but sometimes I do miss a little bit being on the other side of the table, to tell you the truth.
I completely agree. I think for years that's all I was the game master, and it wasn't until really last year where I started focusing on being a player every once in a while because I started learning more. Being on the other side of the table, you're like, oh, okay, but sometimes you have to watch because you can be the game master on the other side of the table, and you're like, okay, remember, I'm a player. I just need to focus on my character story, and there's kind of a nostalgia feel with that where you're like, oh, I don't have to play 9,000 characters. I don't have to remember what is going on with the enemies right now or the factions that are happening. I just have to play me, and there's something nice about that simplicity.
I really love the fact too, and I haven't necessarily seen it with other groups because I don't know other groups like history, but with tabletop misfits, it's really funny because I think we all have started knowing each other enough that, like, if James is telling something and I can kind of like read that he's like going in a direction where it's like I'm maybe in charge of waters, and as also another, it's like, okay, I know that my character can kind of bump us back where it's like, okay, we're going. And I love that we can all kind of do that because of the experience in Misfits that we all have.
Yeah.
So it's pretty fun doing that.
It's amazing. One of the things that when I haven't been on Start Playing for that long. I've been heavily on it since November, so 3 months more or less. And the way that I try to ignite my tables is bringing people from my Instagram over there, and
Yeah.
like 90% of the people that follow me on Instagram are DMs. And then a very cool thing happens, because even when we are playing with strangers, as we have always 2, 3, 4 DMs at the table, I can see that they are kind of sharing the burden of being a DM with me. And it's so cool to see that happen, because if they notice that some player is quiet, for instance, they try to create things in character to bring that player in. So it's fun that going back and forth from behind the screen to being a player, because you can actually bring some of that experience to the way that you play your character, the way that you play the game, right?
Yeah. My main focus when I was running games was for groups. I didn't do drop-in games. It was and I'd started on Start Playing, and then there's a funny story with that where that just didn't work. And I took my exact pitch and I moved it somewhere else, and I said, "Hey, I'm only doing groups. I'm your game master for the forever DM that never gets to play." And I found 3 tables almost immediately. They're like, "Hey, we're 5 guys. We have, the one guy, he doesn't really want to be the game master, but he's the only one that knows enough about the game." And I was like, this is my perfect table. And we played for like 2 years straight for this with the one table alone, because that was what they wanted. And they would give me their rules that they wanted to, or their experience that they wanted to have as a group. And as long as I kept within those confinements, we were good. My one table said, "We just all want to be evil." I said, "Okay, let's do an evil campaign. I don't know how this is going to work. I've never played an evil campaign, but we're going to build this." And I said, "I've only got 2 stipulations." I said, 1, don't be evil stupid. It's not going to work for you. I promise you. I was like, and 2, if you're going to be evil, you have to be okay with player versus player. Everybody's got their own agenda. And they were both super sect on both of those ideas. So, and it was a really fun table. We played, like I said, for 2 years straight. It was absolutely awesome. So yeah, I completely agree with Start Playing. And I think it's really cool that 90% of your table is probably game masters, because of the content that you create, which has got to be an interesting dynamic in comparison to just picking random people who have never played the game before. So yeah. Have you had any like really unique or helpful experiences that you've seen at the table now that you're doing this mostly with game masters, that you were like, "Oh wow, I didn't think about that," or like, "That was a really cool way that they handled that to help me tell the story"?
I think that I am much stronger as a storyteller than a DM.
Okay.
In the sense that I think that I can create really cool story arcs that actually give a lot of freedom for the players to develop their characters within it. But when it comes to doing voices, or trying to, or being very, very accurate on developing very distinct personalities to different NPCs, etc., that's not my strong suit.
Yeah.
And seeing game masters that are just awesome at that, killing it as players, is very inspirational, and you actually see how you can absorb and do that on the other side of the DM screen.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, no, I figured that was probably be part of it. Is there anything that sticks out to you of something that now that you're running for game masters, that you're like, "Oh, I want to bring this to my table"? Like anything that really has caught your attention that you're like, "Oh, this is really cool to utilize"?
Yeah, From a player perspective, it's funny. I think that the one thing that comes to my mind is perhaps on how you can, how can I phrase that, on and the importance of foreshadowing what you're about to do, and perhaps that on the more on the reaction side, and when we finish our session and we're talking to each other, and they say, "Oh, this was especially cool for my character because that happened." So, and what I mean by foreshadowing is that every time that you're running a game, you're kind of working on a certain trope, right? And players will immediately create an expectation regarding that trope. And if you want to go in a different direction, if you're able to put some breadcrumbs along the way, that when the twist happens, the players can immediately connect all the dots backwards and say, "Oh, I wasn't expecting that. But now that this happened, I can see that 3 sessions ago, this NPC was telling me that he was concerned about this particular thing." So when it's interesting playing with DMs that their eye are very keen on that. So I'll give a practical example. So I was playing this session with that's a campaign that I've just finished it like 1 or 2 Sundays ago, and this guys got into a tavern, and they were looking for someone that they knew the name, but they didn't know how the NPC looked like or how to find them. I started we started the interaction with the innkeeper, and then there was the skagman just carrying his stuff on behind the bar, right?
Yeah.
And he went back and forth a couple of times, and that was the guy that they were looking for. And because he heard what they were talking to the innkeeper, he came after the guys and started talking to them.
Oh, nice.
And when we finished the session, this player, who is also a DM, he came to me and said, that you did, that's a Chekhov's gun. And I was like, is it? And yes. You put someone going on the background of that scene, and no one had any idea what that guy or why you were interrupting the interaction, telling that this guy was coming back and forth behind the bar, and that created on me this expectation that this guy was going to have some important part. Yep. On that interaction on another one in the future. And when that happened, I was really happy to see how the dots connected. And I think that's a DM's eye on seeing like, oh, here's a particular way of building up, of creating some suspense or some expectation that when a revelation comes, it makes sense. So I don't know.
So I have a question for you. On because I know like the one I played was a one shot with you. How, as a DM, because I know you ran a lot of them, how did you, as the DM for it, knowing that you were playing like kind of the same almost repetitive game, make it not so tiring for you, kind of playing that situation over and over again?
Being able to, I really like to run my own games, and one of the things that I have, like I make absolute question of having in my games is that it actually gives lots of freedom for the players to do things on different ways. We played. Did we play Blood on the Moonsea Ride, or did we play the Breakout at Revel's End?
We played Blood Moon on Moonsea Ride, I think.
Yeah, Blood on the Moonsea Ride. That adventure, it has it's set up. Now I'm playing it as a 3-shot, which makes it even more fun because what was happening on like 4 hours compressed and trying, kind of having to nudge the players along so that we would make the time. Now we have like 9 hours of gameplay, and I added a few more encounters. So at the start, there are 3 different encounters that the players can start from, but each of these encounters build on the same story. They are unveiling a mystery that you need those 3 blocks to make it sense. So, but the way that they discover, that they figure out that mystery is completely different according to which encounter they go for, they choose first. And only that already gives every 3 games are gonna be completely different because they're going to go on different paths to start with. But according to the path that each table starts from, the way that they understand the mystery and the way that they can figure out the clues is also completely different, which makes them have different reactions and different interactions with the NPCs and different questions, etc., etc., etc. So for me, it really never really feels the same game whatsoever, because that the fact that I'm kind of scrambling the adventures before we start to play it just makes that we're going to have a completely different ride, which I have no idea what it's going to be when we start the session. It took me the second one shot that I was running, Breakout at Rebel's End. It took me 30 sessions until I said, okay, now that's enough. 30 is enough. But I was having fun all the way and running the games with the same level of energy that I was running the first session. And every single session, they would come up with something completely different than any other group had done before. And then some groups are especially creative, and they throw like big curveballs on your direction, and you have to improvise on ways that you have never done before, and then it also turns into a different game. I think that if I were running a published module or a one-shot module, probably it wouldn't necessarily be like that, because they are more kind of railroady, and then it gets a little bit more repetitive. But if you put a little bit of work from the beginning, knowing that you're going to be running it many times, so that you give all this freedom of navigation and this player agency for the players, then it becomes super fun for the DM as well.
Yeah, I think it's really cool also because as a game master, with it having so many different opportunities and changes, the main points, though, as a game master are still going to be the same. You're still going to know what NPCs are where, what worlds are going, or what's happening in each setting, which then allows you to plan way faster, in my opinion. If I know all 19 NPCs that are going to show up every single time and how their personalities are, it's super easy for me to be much more off the cuff than it would be for somebody who's like, okay, I've got these 3 NPCs for this game, but I got 3 new ones for this one, and I've got this. Yeah.
Well, and we've all been there, right? In which we run a session and things go okay, but when you put your head in your pillow late at night, you think, I should have done this, I should have thought of that. And when you're running one shots in a row like that, the fact is that you get to do the things that you get another shot to do it even better. And you also, as you said, by running an NPC several times in the kind of the same setup, you've already tested so many variations of what he could say and do that you have a nice selection of a nice best of things that you can run and do, and run some gags with it as well. Breakout at Revel's End is located in Revel's End, the prison that appears in the Dungeons and Dragons movie. And there's a moment that the players can arrive at the absolution hall where the judgment for parole happens, right? Just like the movie.
Yeah.
And it's so, and sometimes, I was probably like in the 5th or 6th session, and I said, and someone asked me, well, are there any windows in there? And my answer was, well, there used to be a big round glass window over there, but for instance, they have removed it, and that just, of course, and it's funny because not everybody immediately gets it, but you get an outburst of laugh, and then you get, oh, all right, I gotta add that to every description to this room from now on because that works and people relate to that. So it's really nice because you get the opportunity to be I think that's a reality for every one of us. We have outstanding sessions and we have others that are not so great. And then suddenly you have the opportunity to get all your best tools and weapons to make every session very, very high energy and fun for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how my convention games are, because like I run the same 3 different convention games usually a year. And I run, Jake, what am I at this year? 7 conventions this year. So
7 again from last year.
Because I wrote for a company out of Colorado called GUI Cube and I wrote one of their adventures, and then they bring me around now as part of the convention crew to run that adventure. So, but it's kind of a sandbox. So like I know the beginning and I know the end very well. And then it's just which direction you're going and what direction you move and what NPC do you talk to. But I've yet to have this. I've ran this now 9 times, and I've yet to have somebody go the exact same direction every time and talk to the same people. So I think it's been definitely one of those things where it's crazy to say that like I can pick up a one shot and it won't be the same one shot if I run it with 6 other people.
It's amazing, right? It's
it really
just
is.
like getting the best of the 2 worlds. You're still running original adventures because you have no idea how players are going to navigate through it. And at the same time, you're at the top of your game because you know
everything about the adventure. So we've talked a lot about one shots. We talked a lot about start playing games. Do you have a long form game that you're running as well, or is it just one shots and mini campaigns right now? Mini games.
I'm finishing right now the 3rd table of my playtest of Murder in Tavern, which is a campaign that we'll be publishing in May on Kickstarter.
Nice.
So the idea was really to run it with different tables so that I could stress test and debug everything that we needed to fix. And now, by the end of this month, I'll be putting new tables for this campaign. It isn't the longest of the campaigns. It's anything between 16 and 20 sessions. But I'm really, really excited to run it with new groups now that we have polished and improved a lot of things in that campaign for publication, of course. But doing that with the also more stress-free, just knowing that, okay, now I've got it where I want it to be, so I can only have fun with the players rather than every time scratching my head and trying to figure out what could get better in that encounter.
You don't have that secondary thing sitting in the back of your mind being like, yes, we're having fun, but at the same time, I'm critically looking at this thing going, this is
taking notes constantly.
I can see that. I can see this next group is going to be a lot more fun for you because of that opportunity. Well, for those that are in the audience tonight, please tell me if this is too loud, but the dragon is going to enter the table and we're going to talk about monsters now because that's what happens. Yeah, the dragon attacks. All right. this year we changed it up for the year because we want to talk monsters. Something about monsters, just especially in Dungeons and Dragons, is so integral to the story. Yes, we know that the worst monsters are usually human, but that's besides the point. We're talking monsters this year, and how you might be able to use them at your table. And tonight, Bruno, without any further ado, what monster are we talking about tonight?
So my pick is the Revenant.
The Revenant.
It's a tough choice because I like all intelligent undead, but I really like the Revenant backstory. And perhaps, ironically, the reason I like the Revenant so much and intelligent undead so much is because you can take the worst monsters of all, humans, and just bring them on steroids, because undead are just like this one side of vices or virtues or purpose of humans, that but on steroids, because you are lingering through that feeling, through undeath, right?
Yeah, that's cool. And I guess I was reading over it. It says undead let them embody grounded, deeply human themes through unforgettable villains. And I think it's cool because the way you're presenting the Revenant is you're taking one of those feelings and just turning that dial up to 100, 101, like trying to get it as much. That's their life, that's their core, that's who they are, and that's the only thing you're going to see bleed through during that. This reminds me of an older group of monsters called the Shadow Swarm, which are part of the Shadowfell, and they have things like pain and agony and things like that, or lonely. But that's what they were. They were monsters that embodied that specific. The cool thing about Revenant is they're going to look to the naked eye like another just undead creature. But then as they get closer and you start to interact with them, now you can realize that they're just bleeding whatever this emotion is. I'm curious. What is some of the craziest ways you've used these things?
So I think that the core story of a Revenant, I think it's the most tragic of all undead creatures, because a Revenant dies out of in a violent and unfair way, and that's why it's kept alive through undeath, to pursue a revenge. And that thing won't stop until its revenge is fulfilled. It's blinded by revenge, and and even if its body is destroyed for an entire year, it will reincarnate in any other creature and keep its pursuit of the people that have done wrong to it. So I really love the tragic arc, in which the cause of undeath being in for the reason why it became an undead is actually, let's say, there is a purpose to it, in which he has been done wrong. He was killed in a tragic and unfair, in a violent and unfair way. But the way that he tries to solve it, it's the worst possible, a blind revenge. Nice. So what I like about that is the flexibility that it gives the DM to use it for anything, as a villain to a hero, or even anti-hero,
Mhm.
right? Because it can be someone that is really in need of help to fulfill, to punish someone that is supposed to be punished, and he can be played as an ally to the party. But
That's
at the
cool.
same time, can I trust this guy? Can I trust an undead creature? Or if you go the opposite way, it can be a villain, someone that is looking for that revenge, but kind of bashing through everyone and everything on its way to achieve that, and by doing so being very as much or even more cruel than the people that did something to him at the start. But what I most love, and the way that I most love to use it is as the anti-hero, as the one guy that will is in this blind pursuit of its revenge, and the adventuring party happened to bump into him, and now they need to make a decision, because should we join him on pursuing that rightful quest, or should we try and stop him, because that's not the way that you should solve things. You should be searching for justice and not revenge, right? So that puts a moral question for the players to kind of dive into, and that just gives you so many side quests and other things that you can build.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it just kind of came to me as like a lot of times that can be a very hard moral quandary to a player party as well, even if they are being the villain. Like they're being a villain, but they, as a creature of revenge, really don't know they're being the villain. They are just trying to achieve the goal that they were unfairly taken away from doing.
Yeah.
And I can
Well,
see a lot of party members being like, do we have to kill it? Like it's not stopping, but at the same time, maybe we just kill the big guy that he didn't like, and then we just let him just live his
Yeah.
life, you know?
See, well, the other cool thing is, like, I know, like you said, like the big part of the backstory has to be like a violent death, but I would almost say like a shocking death too. Like the first thing when you start like talking about it, I'm thinking of a Western like one shot would be fun with a Reverend, and almost having it like in two different settings, where one's a lady that she finds out her husband's cheating on her, and she falls down a well, and now she's dead. She comes back because she's like, I gotta get this son of a bitch. I gotta take him out because you know, how dare he cheat on me or whatever. And then of course you flip it on its head. Maybe it is a guy that the same thing happened to, and as he's going to, knowing that most male NPCs would probably like, oh, I got to defend this woman. Well, now he looks like the villain because he's running through all these other guys that are trying to defend her.
Yeah.
And it makes him look that much more vicious. But it could be like these small little tweaks of it's not really they died this super violent death. They could, but that they died a shocking death where they were like, now I have this unfinished business because of the last thing I saw.
Yeah, exactly. And it allows for so many different tweaks on it, right?
Yeah.
And then,
oh my God,
Paolo put it up in the chat room. Your partner, Revenants could also be the nightmare of murder hobo parties. Like, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the peasant you killed from sessions ago? He's back with a vengeance. Like,
oh no, yeah,
yeah,
that's perfect.
100%.
Well,
that's awesome.
And also just thinking about your Vampire the Masquerade character or your werewolf character. Like, if Ben ever died and came back as a reverent werewolf, it's like, hey, buddy, I got business to finish, okay? I got business. Like,
yeah, my character's getting
getting
so brutal right now.
Yeah.
In that game. But yeah, no, I think Revenant in any campaign would be so cool. Dungeons and Dragons, Shadow Dark, Cyberpunk.
Mm.
I think the cool thing
Mm.
about it is that the idea of the Revenant and the storyline behind it kind of can go to any genre.
Yeah.
You know, can you imagine it going being I mean, technically it's the equivalency of what Wraith is in World of Darkness.
Mm.
The idea of Wraith is like the fail is fading away and just not existing anymore, but you have to have a purpose to stay existing. So the idea of the Revenant would just be like, I don't want to die, but at the same time I
Oh.
want to.
You see, like how
Yeah,
many things you can build on that. Because
so
the one
cool.
thing is that once that Revenant fulfills its revenge, it's done, it's gone, and it's not that it's going to the nine hells or anything like that. It ceases to exist. Right,
Yeah,
so there's a tweak you can build on a Revenant that is actually trying to postpone its revenge so that it can live this full year that it's got to
Yeah.
for that revenge. And again, whatever is written in the monster manual, we don't have to follow that in our
Yeah.
campaigns.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
make it not a year, make it 10 years, right?
yeah,
So you have this guy like scheming for his revenge, but in the end of the day, what he's really doing, and perhaps he's not even fully aware of that, he's just finding ways to auto-sabotage so that he can postpone his revenge and keep on living, and in the meantime just doing all the meanest things for lots of innocent people that are along the way. And there you
Yeah.
have a completely original villain. I like the way that the malleability that this creature gives a DM for a villain or a knight.
Well,
right.
And the other thing that I'm thinking too is, what if you kind of flipped the coin on revenge and it was more about protection?
Mm.
Like a dad dies and now he's protecting his child, and it's like, up until they hit like 16 or whatever, this guy will be in the background defending them. And what story do you get out of that? Like kind of like the Blood Moon one that we played. Like, what if somebody was at the church living there? Because we don't know, they were there for a reason, but they were there to stay on the outskirts and protect somebody or something like that. I mean, there's so many other little aspects, as long as you keep the base core of it, of the will or the purpose to live. I mean, you could make a reverent into like any kind of thing.
Well, I think that's the neat thing about it, because a lot of this is, we're talking about intelligence undead, but intelligent undead in a main state still has one purpose in itself. A revenant's focus is whatever's keeping it alive.
Yeah.
So, but I do like the idea of flipping that a little bit and being like, okay, he's actually sabotaging the party, because if the party actually succeeds with what they need to do, then he dies. But and that would be an interesting one to play, because it's like, oh yeah, hey, so and so, we got to go over kind of like a Palpatine like character of like, no, I need you to do this, but really I'm already going to send something, or I'm going to notify the guy that you're going after early so that it extends that fight instead of
Yeah. And can you imagine, Jacob, on that example that you gave, how a party would flip out when they arrived at that location that is haunted by some creature, and that there's this one single boy or girl, very young, that is living on that haunted place, and they come to rescue that child. And then they suddenly find out that the guy that is haunting is not actually haunting; he's protecting that guy over there. Like it gives you so much leeway for cool plot twists, and that is so. I have so much fun with it. I was
my
playing
gosh.
with in one of the campaigns. The players' reactions is one of the coolest things when you're running a monster like that. I was running an adventure that the Revenant had a list. Think of Kill Bill. He had a list like of 3, 4, 5 different people that orchestrated his death, and he was hunting with them one at a time. But one of the guys was a commoner. He was just plotting. He had no power whatsoever, and the players helped him out to fulfill his revenge. And when they finally faced the guy, is this defenseless guy against a creature as powerful as a Revenant. And what you're gonna do? And the party starts a discussion on, and one of the players go, well. He did wrong. He deserves it. I'm not going to stand on the way. And on that fraction, the Revenant just runs for his target, his quarry, and just lifts him in the air and breaks his neck like a twig. Oh. And as I describe that, I can only see one of the other players that was unsure what to do. He just goes like, I can't believe that happened right in front of me, and I'm not sure if what we're doing is right at all. So it gives you a lot of room to play with these layers of different emotions and different outcomes that can happen in a story like that.
See, and I could really see you like sliding this into anything. Like I like using the Reborn heritage on people. Like you could slide this. I mean, like I said, the one shot that we played, the dad that we had, the little boy that he was turned to stone. I mean, what if the dad was alive the whole time only because he was waiting for his son to come home? And now you put this thing in front of the party and go, well, you guys can make the little boy come back to flesh and bone, and he sees his dad, and we know his dad's going to die because he's irreverent. Or do you say, let's try and hold on to this as long as possible to let the daughter grow up? Yeah. So, I mean, like...
Yeah. Not to mention, this reminds me of like almost like a Dark Souls type mentality, too. Because, like, especially if you had a player... Like, we had... Just thinking through this, because we just had a player at one of our tables who had to leave, and we wanted to give them this unique kind of way out. And they were venturing into an old like catacombs of an ancient city, and they ran into an undead soldier group that was there to protect this area back in the day. And like, oh, we're here to protect everything that, you know, the kingdom and the king and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, at the end of it, as the captain falls, and the player was like, hey, I was like, well, how would you like to go? And he's like, I just want to fade away. And I said, okay. So as one of them reached for the sword of the captain, he faded away. And as he turned around, the guy that was with us kind of sat down in like a player's stance and faded away. And his body returned to that person looking exactly like the captain. And it was him coming back to make sure he was protecting that land for the final time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And that was all off the cuff. We did that one crazy off the cuff. And everybody's eyes just went like, it was awesome. We had such a good time with that. But yeah, that's such a cool idea of, dude, the Revenant is such a neat creature, and just talking about it brings so many more ideas up. Just the 30 minutes that we've been talking about it. Yeah, this was a cool monster to talk about. Like, I
feel like we're gonna have to take every monster we get and then make like a big campaign with
all the monsters. Yeah,
all the monsters.
Yeah, I mean, I know we grab books like Monsters Know What They're Doing and things like that, where they can learn how these monsters work a little bit based on the stats that they have. But it's so cool to do this stream this year because we're getting actually what people are using these monsters for, how they're creating them differently, maybe the tweaks that you didn't think about right off the bat, because everybody has a monster that they just gravitate towards. And this undead, the idea of the undead, intelligent undead, and this one specifically with a purpose, is such a cool concept. I'm really excited that we went down this rabbit hole because I thought it was a lot of fun. Any last things that you would use an undead, this type of undead for that we haven't talked about? I'm reading the chat. I'm listening. I'm trying to gather all the notes. Cool. Revenant also draws clear parallels with the Spawn comics. A Revenant bound to the devilish patron. Yeah, I mean Revenant could be Spawn. Legitimately, he's brought back. If you watch the new Critical Role series, the aspirants, which are these like demons that are placed under kind of authority of the church that the characters run as, and I think that's a unique idea too, because it's like, oh, you've been given you have been charged with this, right? Like this is your law-abiding thing. You have to follow this. But what happens when they die? Like what happens when that contract is burnt or broken? Now we have to figure that out. So,
well, and I like the fact that Bruno brought up the list because I just thought about it. There was a show that I used to watch on Sci-Fi called Winona Earp, and basically in this area they had like everybody that Wyatt Earp originally killed. They all came back as revenants.
Yeah,
and she had to handle all of them and try and go back and re-kill them all. But all you could do was use the pistol that her grandfather originally used. So, I mean, that's a layer too. Having a list of 100 revenants that you have to kill off, and you only have one weapon that if it gets stolen, you have to go find it to bring it back.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I mean, like you...
Well, and it also reminds me, like, if you think about it, the Revenant mentality, think about Oliver Queen, the Green Arrow. Like, his job was he's got a list of people he's got to kill. Why? Because they did this to his families. Okay, I'm going to go down the list. I'm going to kill all these people. It's just such a cool concept. Thanks, Bruno. This was like, this one's awesome. I love this. I love this monster. I think this is so cool. And
well, and the same thing goes for any other intelligent undead that I think, or at least for me, and perhaps that's a particular way of saying it, right? But if you think of vampires, I'm thinking of lust and manipulation. If you think of a white, the reason why it goes into undeath is vanity, and that also gives you a lot of leeway to play around. What is this? What kind of vanity was so strong that kept this guy going, or ghost that has an unresolved thing to before it can be sent free back to the outer planes and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
right. I love how you can play with this emotions and feelings and transform that on a cool backstory and a cool storytelling line for the players to follow.
Not to mention, like I said, I mean, just talking it like that, I mean, you literally have quest after quest after quest, because all you have to do is say, okay, I'm going to pick this type of undead. They're going to be focused on this type of emotion, and the player's got to figure out how to solve the puzzle. Like literally, they're all puzzles, because you got to be like, okay, this guy is a ghost who has this this is why he can't pass, or they can't pass on. So do we help them? Do we not help them? Like,
yeah. Or just throw it all out there together and be like, hey, technically these are all like undead of the 7 deadly sins. Have fun figuring out which is which.
Which is which. Yeah. The 7 deadly sins, 13 ghosts, you know, another cool idea, and I have never done it, but it just came to my head, is like grab the old board game House on Haunted Hill and then rewrite that as a TTRPG. Like, holy crap, would that be cool? It's probably already done, but I'm like, hey, this is a new idea for me. So, because that game is nifty, because you can play the game like 150 different ways, and it's the same game, same board, same characters, but yeah, they're all done in different ways. And I think that's kind of the same concept, is like you said, you can just throw people in a house of haunted, a haunted house. Be okay, you have to figure out the puzzles, and you could do that as many times as you needed to. Use the same exact model for the haunted house. Use the same exact ghosts that aren't actually the ones that they're worried about to pass on the quest item, the information. And then you've got to start playing for the next 6 years, because we're staying in a haunted house here, guys. This is all we're doing for the next 6 years.
And we also talked about Hero Quest earlier. I mean, you could do that where
I've never played Hero Quest. I don't know anything about it.
Where you have like a deck of cards or whatever for a monster, and you flip over a card or something that's a representation of another hero that's on the board.
Yeah.
And now that creature comes back on another spot of the board and is running straight for that player, trying to get at them because they have now come back to get revenge. Yeah, I mean, like, there's so much stuff you could do with this.
Yeah, this is awesome. So this is it. This is what we do every single week, and it's so much fun. But we have entered into the final stage of tonight's show, which is happy hour, which means this is where the audience gets the opportunity to hang out, ask questions about tabletop, about gaming, what our favorite color is, everything. But the main focus is, how do we make you better players and game masters at your table, and those questions that you're wanting to ask. So feel free to drop those in the chat room. We're going to answer those as they pop up. But to start out, because we are a tabletop organization and a show, roll me a d20, and we'll start with the question of the day. Because these are always fun.
And that's my first roll of a d20 on the day. Let's see what it comes. I've got a 13.
13.
Speaking of that, 13 is very symbolic.
Okay, this is an interesting. What is one of your most favorite missions that you've put players on? Or most memorable mission you've put players on?
Most memorable mission to put a player on. The ones that come into my mind are the ones that the players had the most intense reaction on finding them. So I had this campaign once that the whole thing, or one of the plot lines of the campaign was there was this barbaric orc invasion about to invade the realm. And the twist was that they weren't as barbaric as you would imagine. They were just people that were on the brink of survival, and they had nowhere else to go but to go to new lands. And the one land that they chose to go to was the one that had done them wrong generations past. But every people that the players would talk to would tell them about the threat of this orcish invasion that was about to happen. And all of them were very sure about that, except one player. And this one player, when they were scouting through the main orc location, where it was a tribe of like 200 orcs, way too many that they could face, and their quest was to get in there and to spy it.
Okay.
And that was where they would find the twist, that the orcs weren't that evil after all. They were just struggling to survive. And when they found that out, they decided to head back And one of the players said, I don't think that I'm heading back. I'm going to go there and I'm going to talk to their leader and I'm going to parlay. And it's so fun because he was kind of a rookie player. He was probably like in his 10th session in his life.
Oh,
And
nice.
every other player was saying, no, that's not how we run the game. Don't do that. And said, let him be. Let's see how that goes. And it went awesome because he really was able to build an understanding and bring new information about that. And he was so happy that he took that one path that no other player wanted to take. So I guess that the examples that pop into mind is not a specific mission, but a mission that makes a player or the players very happy that they were able to fulfill in their own way. I think that's
and that was
a special thing.
That was definitely a cool idea too. And props to your player that did that. That's a very bold move as a rookie to be like, nah, we're gonna try this. Like,
road less traveled.
Yeah, road less traveled. And it definitely, I think it paid off for him because not only did it pay off in the fact that more of the story was told, but it showed him, because it's something I do know that we get a lot of times in tabletop, is that you get people who don't really understand that you can do anything in tabletop gaming. A lot of times people are like, oh, I can only, sit, stand, interact with item, that kind of thing. And it sounds more like a video game. But when that twitch, that twist changes in your mind and you're like, oh no, I can do anything. That player is probably going to go off and be an incredible player for the rest of his life because of that moment right there. Because you didn't limit him and the other players didn't limit him to doing something that was completely off kilter for everything else. We have a question in the chat, and I will tell you, this is not an easy question to answer. Well, it has an easy answer and a hard answer. And as somebody who's been running games for 30 years, this is a perfect person to ask. For someone who is super late into the D&D lore, where do you suggest I start? That's the question. And that's coming from Mars the Medium. That's a...
and the question is the question about lore or is the question about mechanics? I understand it as lore, correct?
This said lore. This says D&D lore. Now I don't know if this is the first time they're getting late into playing tabletop games, because that's a completely different question. But the lore of Dungeons and Dragons, I guess that.
Can you read that one more time?
Yeah, it says, for someone who is super late into the D&D lore, where do you suggest I start? Both really, they go hand in hand, right? That's what their response was. Both really, they go hand in hand. So I'm going to ask this question real quick, and you can answer this in the chat room. Have you ever played a tabletop role-playing game? Because if we can start there, we can find our path.
Yeah. But it's funny.
They've never played at all.
Oh, they've never played. All right. You know what? I think that my answer to that would be the same very way that I started 30 years ago. Because when I did so, the Forgotten Realms was running for already like 10 years or something like that. And there was way too much lore, because between the first and second edition of Forgotten Realms, they would release those modules almost every month. There was a module diving into one of the regions. So there's I think that it's FR 1 to FR 15 or FRS 1 to FRS 15, and each one of them would dive into Anorok and the Dalelands and the Empires of Sand. So and they were chunky books for a monthly release, right? Of 32 or 64 pages, and you add that up throughout many years, it feels like just too much lore for you to handle. and how did I start as a kid, 14 years old, having to dive into all that lore? Man, I started small. I started in Shadowdale and the Dale lands, and so I started with the Shadowdale, with a town, a small farming town that happened to be in the Dale lands. So there are 10 other farming towns that they have a relationship with them, and then they are neighbors to Nifdraenor, the elves, and then they have rivalries and tensions with Sambia and Cormier that are a republic and a kingdom that are around them. And step by step, you start to grow that understanding of this complex world. And by the time you realize it, you have, after playing so many sessions and guiding your party through these different locations, you started at a small farming town, a small farming village, and suddenly you're at the kingdom level, at a regional level, and suddenly you know a lot about the lore of an entire continent, just because you've been playing that campaign for 2 years and you had the time to dive deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's funny to think, because now we have so many other things that we didn't have 30 years ago, right? There was nothing close to Critical Role that at that point. Perhaps the closest thing that we would have would be the Dragonlance novels, but I don't think that answer changes that much 30 years later. Pick a setting that you like. Eberron, Exandria, Forgotten Realms, it doesn't matter. Pick one location that looks cool and grow step by step outwards until you become a sage on all the knowledge accumulated on that setting.
Yeah. And it's crazy. You mentioned places that I haven't heard in 10, 15 years. Like, because we talk about the Forgotten Realms, and they are forgotten. There's 90% of Forgotten Realms doesn't ever get talked about anymore.
Yeah.
Between Icewind Dale, Saltmarsh, and Cholt, really those are the only three that most people know about, but there's so much more within the realm of Forgotten Realms. I guess, Bruno makes it very simply: pick somewhere small. As a game master, I always say there's two ways that you build a world. You build a world big and slowly shrink it down, or you build a world small and slowly build it out. Another thing, I mean, we have free tools now. You can literally go on D&D Beyond and you have a free starter kit right there that you can get to, or go to your local bookstore or game store, or heck, I think it's even at Walmart and Target nowadays, where you can pick up the starter kit. Get the starter kit. And
if you want information, I would just say go to like the D&D wiki.
Yeah.
Like if you're a fan of, like, let's say Stranger Things, and you saw it and you like the idea of Vecna, why not just, instead of finding a location, why not just start with Vecna?
Yeah.
Read his thing. What's his eyeball do? What's his hand do?
Yeah.
What happens when they're apart? What happens when they're together?
Yeah.
And they go, okay, well, he became a god over this location. What is that?
Learn that location.
Yeah. What did he rule over? Are there any named people that he had?
Yeah.
And then extend it out from there, and you go, okay, I've got this big chunk of Vecna over here. Now, where did he come from originally? Maybe he comes from the Dale lands, and you go, I'm going to dive into this. It's kind of like putting a puzzle together and realizing, like, everything's going to go together. You just have to figure out
how it goes together,
and how you remember it.
Yeah. But I think for somebody who's brand new at tabletop gaming, diving into a character is going to be very difficult because there's so much to it. Definitely, one book is all you need. One setting guide, one module, one shot. It's all you need. And then without, plugging it here is really easy to do because it's what we do all the time. But there's now people out there who teach this stuff. which makes it even better. Bruno does one shots on startplaying.games. We have channels that are built strictly for teaching people how to play certain tabletop games. YouTube is an incredible resource for this stuff.
Yeah, and the new starter set, by the way, is a home run. It's so if for someone that is diving, who is testing the waters for the first time.
Is that Stormwreck?
The Keep on the Borderlands.
The
newest
yeah.
one. It's so much fun with all these cool accessories, and it's just for veteran players. It may look too easy, but or too simple. But you gotta look with the eyes of someone who is testing the waters for some times. It's such a fun sandbox for you to dive in, and it's a total home run. They have the Keep on the Borderlands for you to have all the social interactions. They have the Wilderness for you to go almost hex crawling. They have the Caves of Chaos with 13 different small dungeons that you can get into, and it's built in a sandbox approach. It's so much fun for whoever is starting to play in the game.
And it's also
so much easier and more accessible than the previous ones.
Yeah, and it's also one of the most popular modules ever created in Dungeons and Dragons from the second edition. So
imagine how happy the guy designing it was on being able to resurrect one of these modules.
One of these incredible changes.
Something. Yeah. I have one last comment on that regard. If you do choose Vecna to dive into as a character, make sure you Google Vecna with Joey Manganiello together and find out
Arkham.
the coolest move in role-playing game history.
Archon
live table.
We found out we had a home table where that became we were playing around with Vecna, and that's a messy character, and he's unique. It's very unique. If you really read into the backstory of Vecna, there's a lot of history, a lot of story, a lot of tragedy that I'm not going to bring up on here, but there's a lot of tragedy behind the character alone as well. Mars the Medium, if this answers your questions, or if there's any other questions you have, please drop those in the channel. And as you see, what just popped in the channel right now, if you want to play Dungeons and Dragons with Bruno, you can go to his startplaying.games and you can go check it out by yourself with cool people. And right now we're not running. I don't think Jacob and I either are on startplaying.games right now, but they did say, yeah, guys, thank you so much. So that's awesome. We're glad. And congratulations. Welcome to the community. Make sure you hit that follow button.
We're all on Instagram if you have other questions. So, I mean,
we're all out there. But it's so cool to see somebody coming brand new into this imaginatory sandbox, because it's really all we do. We add some numbers and some rules, and then it's just imagination at that point.
We're all kind of like Lancasters. We drink and we know things.
I drink and I know things. That's literally like my slogan when I'm at conventions. I drink and I know things. That's my slogan at conventions. But yeah, does anybody else in the audience have any questions? Like I said, this is what we do. I mean, if I can bring one new player to this, this hobby, this passion that we have every session, I would be absolutely thrilled. But yeah, I love this stuff. This is my favorite things to talk about.
That was one of the cool things, because the game that I played with Bruno is actually my second one in playing D&D 2024. And I was playing a paladin, and I learned that there was so much I could do. Like, we get to the last fight, and I'm like, there's like 12 things I get to add. What?
What level are you?
We're playing at level 5.
Okay, yeah. For me, 24th edition was really rough, because I believe there's just especially for brand new players, there's so much you have to like on a character sheet nowadays. It's almost overwhelming for some players. Um, I really liked it when it was like, okay, at level 1 I've got 3 or 4 things I can do. It makes it very easy, it makes me understand it, and I can kind of teeter upward. Now we've got superheroes at level 1.
Well,
It blows my
and you'd
mind.
like this because we talked about at the beginning about Paulo and his little guy, but
Yeah.
about teaching the younger generations. But in the game that I played, there was actually a lady, and we won't say any names or anything,
Nope.
but we had a lady in there that got into it because of her son.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then she was like, she's like, I'm in 5 games now. And
There we go.
I was like, this is great. I get to play
We
with
got,
you.
we got another one.
Amazing, right? And she came
Yeah.
back to play the other one shot with me as well, and it was so much fun. And she just got the hang of it so easily, right? It's
Yeah.
impressive to think that she was only 5 games into the hobby. There was what was the story that? Oh yes, I got this. This mini campaign that I'm running right now. I've got this guy who is a professor at university, and he played. I think that he played up to 3E or 2E, and he stopped for like 15 years.
Mhm.
And last year, he had a student that he was tutoring for his master thesis or whatever,
Yeah.
that decided to do it on Dungeons and Dragons. And then after 1 year helping the guy write that stuff, he said, "Fuck it, I gotta get back
back
and
into
play again." And he ended up on my table, and it's so much fun to see people also reconnecting with the.
Yeah, we had an opportunity like that at GaryCon last year. Guy by the name of David Baxter, who's a very known game master from like 2nd edition, 1st edition gaming. He hadn't ran a game for 35 years. And a friend of mine, great game master, great player, was like, hey, he's running a game at GaryCon. I've got you a seat. We played the very first module ever written by Gary Gygax, G1. And in first edition rules, which was crazy. I'd never played 1st edition before. The idea of how this, and it really gave me a understanding of how this came from a war game compared to like where it's at now, because we were just carving through giants, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, oh yeah, no, just like 3 or 4 of them at a time, and you're like, holy gosh, this is so like brutal. But they throw 35 at you, and you're like, ugh! So, but it was funny because we all took the game the way we see it now and played it, and he was like, I never would have expected at that time the game to be played the way you guys are running it now. And I was like, because he was still the old school, so he's like, oh, they're just going to go in and they're going to carve up everything and just be done. And we're like sending the orc chefs out the door and trying to protect people and all this extra stuff. And he's like, I never would have expected this to be the way that we but now it's a running thing. So we did G1 last year. We're supposed to go back this year, and we're going to run G2, and we're going to walk through Gary Gygax's original modules with this guy who's only played 1st and 2nd edition with a bunch of 5e players. And it's like,
what a joy!
It's such a cool experience. But yeah, I'm sure that's probably how that guy feels too. Is just, this is something he's not seen in so many years, and then coming back to it. What an experience. I'm sure a lot of the 1st edition, 2nd edition guys out there still that are running with new players to this day have got to have a different experience than what we're getting at a 5e, in a 5e game.
Yeah, that's also something I feel like with my coworker, because he's a big D&D guy. but he's played 5e like once. He hates it, and he's like I don't know why anybody would want to do it how it is now instead of playing like 3. Like he's a 3.5 guy.
Okay, he's crunchy number guy. Got it.
Yeah, and I'm like.
Yeah, Pathfinder is him then. He's a Pathfinder guy.
Do you not understand this though? Like I tell him all the time, I said, I want you to run a 5e game. And he doesn't ever understand. And I said, listen, if everybody else has come from somewhere, if you run a 5e game with 3.5 knowledge, I said, think about the story that you carve for everybody else. Instead of them going, oh, this was a cool game. I said, you may be the person that makes it where they go, this isn't just a game, like D&D is life.
D&D is life. Yeah, no, and I agree, because a lot of the things that they did in third edition was a lot of the resource management stuff, a lot of the number crunching. You take somebody who's like that and put him in a 5e game, you're gonna see things like monsters using their techniques the way they're supposed to use their techniques. They're going to see those critical thinking moments deeper in the game compared to somebody who's playing it strictly for a story. And that's really, really a cool idea. Mars the Medium asked, do you guys play virtually? Funny enough, we all play virtually. We also, I run a table here at the house. Jacob, I think, runs a table at his place. Bruno, do you have a home table?
Not currently, no.
Oh, man, we got to fix that.
Yeah,
that's something I lost for so many years, and then once I got it back, I was like, I'm never losing this again. It was so much. I tell people all the time, there's a magic around the table. There's that you can't experience on a virtualized setting. Like, you can get very close, but there is a difference between putting 6 people around a table and rolling some dice for 3 hours, and it just makes life so much better.
It's a different kind of magic. We had a very cool experience because we were running this virtual campaign for 2 years with friends, and we were playing online. And after 1 year, we got to be there were 7 players and me as the DM. So 8 of us together at the same place for the first time after playing for 1 year campaign. And that Sunday, we started 10 in the morning and we ran a session until 10 at night. 12 hours unstoppable. And we were so excited that we got to finally be all of us together around the big table after 1 year playing virtually. I mean, it's playing online is great. But the magic that happens around the table is something of its own.
It's weird to say, like, you feel the energy. Like, it's not just like, I can feel some of the energy when people are excited on a screen, but like, you feel everything that's going around the table constantly. We just did the same thing last year at San Diego when we did our first live show for our Icewind Dale campaign. We've been running 30 episodes online with the same group over a year and a half worth of time. None of my players had ever met. I had never met any of my players. And then we show up to do a live play in person on stage for the first time. And we found so many little things that we didn't realize we were missing on virtual. One of our players, Sam, who is another one of our game masters here at the Misfits, he plays an Echo Knight, and he likes to normally on stream, he'll banter back and forth with himself on what the Echo Knight would say compared to what he's saying. And then we're sitting there on stage and he said something, and before I even could think about it, I blurted something out, and we're talking back and forth as the Echo Knight now. And it felt so much more natural than him just talking to himself back and forth. And it was like, oh, that we need to add to that show, because this is so much more fun than you trying to figure out 2 versions of yourself at the same time. It was so fun. I highly recommend, if you have a local game store, if you have something near you, go play at a table. You got to try it at least once. But once you get into it, and you find your group and your group moves away, then virtual becomes a thing because you want to stay with your group. But if you can keep it to the table, I suggest keep it to the table until you want to go do something crazy like we do here and go professional and do it with, lights and cameras and all that fun stuff, which
saying
it has
that,
its own thing.
I have a question for Bruno.
There we go.
Because we've talked about D&D the whole time, and usually one of my favorite questions, and I know James loves this question too, is there ever any other RPG that you find yourself possibly wanting to play other than D&D?
My answer would be the ones that I played as a teen, because since then I've practically only played D&D. But as a teen, I loved so much to play Vampire the Masquerade. We had so much fun on a campaign where I got to be the player in that campaign. It was lots of fun, and I think it's you can run anything, and I don't want to dive into that, otherwise I'm going to speak for another 15 minutes here.
Especially when we're at like our 5-minute cutoff.
Exactly. So Vampire the Masquerade is one, and another one that we played at that point, GURPS Superheroes. We had an X-Men campaign playing GURPS Superheroes. We had so much fun playing that. So that's another thing that I would do. I'm not sure about the new Marvel role-playing game because I've heard that the mechanics are a bit clunky, but and there's a third one also.
That seems to be an excited one. He's like,
there was an old school Star Wars role-playing game that was so much fun to play as well. And it was like the real deal, because you get shot by a laser pistol twice, you're dead.
Yep.
So you were really you were trying to avoid combat as much as possible the entire time, and that gave so much room for so many shenanigans. There you go, three of them for you.
No, that's perfect. Vampire the Masquerade is definitely on my top 10. Like, I love Vampire so much. I've not yet played GURPS, but one of our players in our Dress to Quest team, that's all he runs is modern day GURPS, and he said he loves it, everything about it. So I will have to get with him to learn that one. I've never played it. But I have heard that one's really cool because it's very genre agnostic. Like, you can just throw it in anything. Like, you can do a GURPS in anything. Western, you can do a GURPS in Star Wars, do a GURPS in this. It's really neat. And then the Star Wars one, I'm curious if it's the original Star Wars second edition or if it's because they had like a Star Wars extended second edition where there was like they went down the rabbit hole when it came to like races and classes and everything. It was so cool. But that was a long time ago. I played that in college. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, it was one with Millennium Falcon on the cover, black cover.
Yep.
Deep
yeah,
space,
I think that's second edition.
Falcon.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Well, friends, I hate to do this. It's been another wonderful conversation here at the tavern, but this is last call. So please, as we do, make sure to go check out Bruno. Where can they find you, Bruno?
Instagram, the Deep Dice. On Instagram, the Deep Dice. On Start Playing, the Deep Dice. On DM's Guild, just go to any of these places, type the Deep Dice, and you'll find me there. And if you watched this episode, let me know that you did. I'm always up to connecting and exchanging messages with the community because there are so many cool people to get to know and to connect around. So thank you guys so much for inviting me for this awesome chat, guys.
Yeah. Also, don't forget, we heard about it earlier today. I know we didn't get much to talk about it, but there's a Kickstarter coming, so keep an eye out for that. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a new setting. I don't know anything about it, but we'll find out soon, hopefully. But this is Tavern Talks. Every week we bring a new guest. Next week is not a is no different. I don't have the guests list up right at the moment, but keep an eye for all the socials. This week we're getting back into the swing of things at the end of the month. Tomorrow we're back in the garage with Chuck and Beaker over at Beaker Builds. And then Monday is the return of season 2 for Dress to Quest, where I'm back in the Game Master seat, and we find out the what happens at the council in Bryn Shander as the Chardelin Dragon is currently destroying the third town, well, heading towards the third town to destroy it. And when I tell you we have grabbed that module and went like this, and then dumped out all the pages, and then shuffled them around, and then threw them back on the book. That's kind of what we did. The game makes no sense compared to where it was, compared to what we're doing with it, but it's so much fun, and the setting's awesome. And I've already blown up Revel's End, so that place is gone. No window, no door, no prison. Actually, one of our players is a escaped convict from Revel's End. So more to that. If you want to know anything more about that, go check us out Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then we'll be back here at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time next week for our next wonderful guest. If this is your first time tuning in, make sure you hit that follow or like button, depending on if you're hearing it now or in YouTube in a week. And keep an eye out because we got shows coming in left and right starting this month. And we're super excited with 6 different systems this year. It's going to be a blast. You want to help out or get more connections, go over to our Discord, hang out with us. The community is growing like crazy, and we'd love to hang out with you too. Until then, stay warm, grab your favorite glass, raise it up high, and cheers, friends. We'll see you guys all next week for another episode of Tavern Talks. Have a good night.